There was enormous pressure on Labour candidates and Labour leadership during the general election to stop arms being provided and sold to Israel. And we get a news report overnight. British civil servants appear to have suspended the processing of arms export licences for sales to Israel, pending the completion of a wider government review into the issue. I'm joined by Natasha Hausdorff, barrister and legal director of UK Lawyers for Israel. Appear to have suspended. Do we know what the truth of this is?
Well, that article was based on evidence that was seen purporting to have suspended licences for arms exports to Israel pending a policy review. It followed a report last week in the Mail that suggested a very similar thing had occurred. And rather than a denial, we have simply heard the government repeating that the matter was under review and that there'd been no change in policy. So I think the really concerning question has to be, policy aside, what is happening in practice? And if this is a decision that has already been taken, despite the Foreign Secretary indicating he was encouraging an in-depth legal assessment and a comprehensive review, if this is a decision that has apparently already been made, perhaps for political reasons, as you yourself have indicated, then that should be of great concern to anyone that holds any store by policy matters being based on proper review and, of course, international law.
And we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that Israel is our ally and is under attack on three fronts and it needs to defend itself.
Yes, and interestingly, one of the UN agencies, the UNWRA, some of their operatives were actually directly involved in the massacres that took place on the 7th and the barbarism that took place on the 7th of October. We learned that the Labour Party is once again going to have the taxpayer funding that organisation.
That was one of the first decisions that they took, despite the accepted evidence now by the UN of complicity of UNRWA employees. But the complicity of this UN organisation in terrorism before the 7th of October, as well as on it, has been a matter of public record for some time. It's been the subject of reports by UN Watch. The Israelis have estimated some 450 employees of UNRWA are in fact linked to a terrorist organisation, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, to name just two. So in those contexts, the fact that now taxpayer-funded support is being sent to an organisation that has, unfortunately, Nigel, as its raison d'etre, the perpetuation of the conflict, the content of UNRWA textbooks and UNRWA-run schools to encourage
It is alarming. It is alarming. Andrew Rosendale, of course, won't be surprised by this at all.
No, the whole thing is alarming. I rather feared that a Labour government would take this type of approach. I fear for Israel. Israel is a democratic country. It's part of the free world. And if we don't stand with Israel and we allow extremists and terrorists and outside organisations, Iran to fund Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis are now getting involved, this is a very dangerous situation for Israel. And I think the ultimate objective with these people is to push Israel out, to obliterate Israel. And that's what really worries me. So Labour is playing into their hands.
Natasha, Paul makes the point, it's a better party than it was when Corbyn was leading it.
Well, I think they're missing the point that Andrew pointed out, which is at the crux of this. This is the Islamic Republic of Iran. The war that Israel's fighting is now won, unfortunately, on 7 fronts, but Iran stands behind all of them. And what we have seen, especially with these latest revelations with respect to arms licensing, and let's be clear, this is not aid. This is not taxpayer...
Well, there's two separate things.
Yeah, of course.
I've seen it referred to.
But on the arms licensing front, this is exporting British product for commercial reasons, and doing so in circumstances where every review so far by the last Conservative government, by the Americans, has found that Israel is committed to complying with international humanitarian law. Nothing has changed. So it's a policy decision that seems to have been driven by politics, which is missing the encouragement that it is giving to the Islamic Republic and all of its proxies that are supposed to be seeking to wipe Israel off the map, beginning a massive barrage of firing against the Jewish state this evening.
Natasha Hausdorff, thank you for joining me.